Let's see the audio. There really is that little slight delay, huh? How's it going, Tavon? Slow start today. Slow start, but we are going to start. Kind of looking at the references of the previous pages here. Reference kind of like what I have. But yeah, how are you? Trying to think here. I'm gonna do trees here, then I might as well start with that. I don't know. So I'm gonna end up touching it, so I might as well just start with the background actually. Wait a minute. Instantly noticed something I didn't add in. Everything's good on your end? Sounds great, man. It's been an interesting day. Did a lot of cleaning and stuff like that today. Yeah, other than the cleaning, been a relatively decent day. Cleaning actually usually feels pretty good to finally just like get that stuff kind of tackled with, like finally. It's always cool. Got to schedule some things as far as with the house coming up with the wife and everything, and talk to the kids a bit. So things have been cool. Oh, how's it going, Yumiko? How have you been? It's been a while. Hmm. It's been so. Yeah, it's been a while. How have you been though? I've been consistently just, working on this, doing the family stuff. Kind of want to make sure this feels windy, just a little bit. You still been practicing? That's good. Good. So, what type of things are you practicing? That's further back. If this is closer, so it's gonna have a thicker outline. This here is gonna be the grass. Anatomy, shadows, and lighting and things. Okay, basically, it's really good. Anatomy and shadows, basically value studies and anatomy, stuff like that. Figure drawing, I assume. It's always good to be up on. Yeah, I was thinking about doing more like studies and stuff like that on stream, but it'll be like whenever I have time. I've been able to do it like maybe like at least one time so far. But yeah, I don't know how many episodes. I don't know how many videos you've missed, but we've got some decent amount of work done. I think we're coming up on the last 2 pages now. This is like one of the things I did the other day ago, and well, the day before yesterday, and this was one of the ones we had gotten to yesterday. Yeah, I think they came out pretty good. This lighting's a little bit too bright. All right, should work. Yeah, it's kind of doing this thing where they're going to the through this forest. I like the way it turned out. Thank you. Yeah, took a little work, but glad I was able to do it on stream. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I think it'd be cool if I start doing some type of streams where I'm kind of showing myself practice as well. I may or may not have the audio on at that point in time to try and just focus and get the most out of that. But I think it'd be also cool to just share. So, I don't know. I'll figure something out. Alright, that looks decent. Just trying to make sure these trees look slightly convincing. Just a little bit. I'm gonna see here. Some sort of heel here. Just gonna start going upwards a bit. Then we're gonna have the grass. may try to apply like some shadows and whatnot on the grass. Through the computer or something. Might just be a bit more helpful. I would love to get better at like making things that don't look like patterns. I think it's really difficult for like a human to like get away from it. Like every time I try to make something that looks a little bit random, I'll look at it again and be like, oh, I can kind of see the lines that connect them. You know, even if they're not exactly there, I can like see them. And like if someone really didn't even try that hard, they'd be able to see these connecting lines. I'm trying to get away from that. Just haven't drawn enough, I guess. Drawing black and white mangas are really tough, especially in using tones, styles, and other stuff to make the panels not look boring. Okay. Yeah, they are. They are tough in that way. Um, I'd say, yeah. It's kind of like you gotta figure out like what the strength of like even a black and white image has over a colored image, right? Um, because color, colored image is the most popular type of image these days, and color in general is always exciting for people. But there's definitely a strength in having black and white art. Um, and I would say it's one of the best it's one of the best things that helps propel someone's imagination, right? Like if I were to draw an apple, right? If I were to draw an apple, uh and I didn't tell you what color it was, your brain's probably like, oh, the apple is probably red, you know, or green, depending on, but the most popular color for an apple is red. So based off of just understanding of that, your brain will make the assumption that it's a certain color. But if I told you later that like the apple is a weird color, like purple, the whole time, you'd be like, wait, are you serious? Like these apples have been purple the whole time? But you never know if I never colored it. You would never actually know unless I did a cover art or something and it was colored. You'd be like, holy crap, apples in that universe are purple, you know. Um, that's a small little example, but it's stuff like that that's really cool to me. I feel like when people rely a lot on color, it kind of takes away from the work I guess your brain has to do. But that's not bad work. It's really like cool work. The same thing as like when you read a comic or something, and based on the dialogue and how the character looks and how they act and interact with people, you can make your own mental voice of that character, right? And then later, eventually, you get, maybe if you're lucky, you get an anime. But that takes away, it kind of slightly robs people of their own mental version of what that character sounds like. Because now you only hear the voice actor in your mind who's playing that character. It's really interesting stuff like that. But yeah, definitely black and white is a bit harder, but I think it relies on very basic things like that. It's kind of like basic things that don't rely on color. So it's the step right before color, but then it leans more on those types of things. Let's say. Like, yeah, I wonder, can a colored image be considered graphic? I don't believe it can, but I do believe a colored image can be considered vibrant. Something I'll have to look more into. Good research. So I know I'm going to use a computer to fill in these spaces because I know I want them to be a little bit darker here. And I can also play with the lighting the way I want to. So I'll probably do that with a computer. And I'll also use a bit of this space to like make sure I detail where the branches are, stuff like that. So I'm gonna do a bit of that now. Cool. Hmm. Alright, so that's my basics for that part of it. Now I can kind of start on some of this background stuff here in the middle. I'm looking at like the iconography I have in the background and wondering if I should change anything. Like some, oh, I know what that is. It's like, wait a minute. Alright, so all I need is a very sharp pencil. So what direction should I actually do this from? Guess I should try cross-hatching. See, something like, let me see here. I have a random sheet. I don't want to do something where I'm going to do a gradation. How's it going, Jerry? Come on, do something like that. It'll be simple. It doesn't have to be super crazy or anything like that. I don't know, I've thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I could just do that. Get the pointy part of this pencil. Find where my horizontals are going to be. What's happening, Tavon? What happened? I missed a line there. Not cool. It's actually not that big a deal. It's just me trying to match up certain lines. I know I'm missing a lot. I think I'm missing that horizontal, but it's not that big a deal still. Alright, let's see here. Erase out here. Gotta check this horizontal real quick. Aha, it is off. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be perfectly horizontal. Because there are waves here. Alright, and technically if the lighting is coming from the back, I guess you would say it's up above high as well. You would kind of maybe see something like this. Be cool. And I'm gonna draw in the water. Or more like a, I guess a stand-in for the water. Never sure with certain things. I don't really like the way I do everything yet. Most things I think I'm decent at. Other things I'm like, I could be better. Definitely dislike the stream that'll show Jerry. Dang. What's your favorite art material other than hot press watercolor paper? Favorite art material? I actually have to think about it. That's crazy. My favorite art material. I guess I would have to say like a brush pen. I love brush pens. Um, Here's like a watercolor brush pen that I've been using. They work very well. Um, Very cool. And they kind of can get messy sometimes, but I really enjoy using them. But yeah, I like brush pens. I actually like to work with ink, surprisingly. Well, maybe not surprisingly, but I've kind of converted over to doing pencil. But I used to, like I said, I used to ink like every single page I've ever done for this comic, and mainly everything else. Most things I've actually drawn and inked. So it's only recently that I stopped inking so much. But yeah, I actually love ink work, and I really appreciate it. But the it's very hard to get people interested in, just like Yumiko was talking about, getting people interested in black and white artwork. Online, everyone is painting characters and doing character art and stuff like that, and that really gets people going. And that's cool. But it feels like a lot of people don't appreciate um a lot of the work that goes into black and white art. And also there's a stigma that inking a picture is just tracing it, which, technically a part of it is, but the other part of it is when you're adding something. Like the really good inkers basically they add something to that picture that they're inking. They don't just go over the lines. Sometimes some of those lines aren't even uh understandable from like everybody's eye. Sometimes it's like this swiggly line, and you as the inker have to go, okay, based on my knowledge and the aesthetic that this guy is going for, what can I use on this swiggly line to make it really cool? You could change it from not a swiggly line into cross hatching. You could use contours, lighting, use all types of different things. But if you just trace it, you're not adding anything. So I don't think you'd be able to keep that job very long if you were just doing that, because a lot of pencilers aren't very tight. A lot of them don't need to be to some degree. A lot of them are very loose, which gives you as an inker some room to breathe and kind of do your own thing and add to things. But if you don't add anything, you're just tracing. And that's when inking becomes like a very flat medium. But yeah, I'm definitely going to go over this. These are just going to be placeholders for these waves, but I'm actually going to pull up some references and practice a bit more before I scan these pages in. Alright, so now we can finally kind of, well, actually, let me go ahead and hit up these little parts here and there. Go to this line here and make it a bit thicker. Right, that line's a little bit thicker there. Now I'm going to use this slightly larger pencil. I'm going to start going around this character, trying to accentuate some of these lines. Hopefully his outline is reading well. Alright, it's looking pretty sharp so far. Gonna make sure I go over this this line here to make sure it feels like it's overlapping. So I can go ahead and work on this here. Might be smarter to actually use a template for this. Depends on if it actually fits the circle I'm going for. If not, I'll just do it by hand. Okay. I'll go for the smaller one and I'll push it further forward. Looks pretty cool. Add some more shapes into the leaves here. And I know that I ended up doing like some silhouettes of these guys down here, but they're on white. There's no point in needing a silhouette because they'll just be a shape. Um, Trying to remember exactly which ones were they, but I think there's two people standing about here. Actually, yeah, what are we looking like? All right, that's unseeable as well. Where's the other page? Right. So here's the other page. There's at least like two of these guys who are also there. We turn this page over and reference it. That's interesting. So continuous focus changes every time you like move something into the frame or the camera, and then you have to kind of focus it again. So that's pretty cool. I could deal with that. Okay, so it's like two guys right here. So I'm gonna make sure that I reference those two people. All right, we got a little something there. See, there might be some people down here. And then we have a whole group of people over here on the left hand side. And I'm not going to draw them individually because they're really tiny. They're about the same size as these guys, but it's a whole group of them. So I'm just going to try and cheat that a little bit. See here. And there's a guy or a person next to a tree, or further back than the others. And this person I can kind of get away with some things with. But essentially, got my outline for what I want to be there. That's gonna work. Get some more shapes into these leaves, or into the trees essentially. begin with this part in the beginning. If you guys are here for the earlier pages, well, technically it's because of my non-due diligence. I definitely still haven't looked up what I need to look up for this part, but I'm gonna get back to that still. I'm gonna get back to it. Want to make sure the boats are somewhat accurate and the people sitting in them are as well. So, actually, you know what? Tonight, no, tomorrow, I'm gonna look that up specifically, and I'm going to do studies on it, and then I'll probably show it a bit later. Get something to drink. When did an art store run recently? Uh-oh, low blurry. When did an art store run recently? And for some reason, I forgot to pick up some of these freaking pens. As much as I use them for borders, I should have at least picked up two. I'm doing pages at a steady rate these days, so I could probably use two. Be cool. I'm gonna put some more line work on certain things. Like the grass that I have here should have a thicker outline. How about this guy? Probably gonna do that digitally. It's gonna be a it's gonna be something I'm gonna do digitally. I'm still worried about, not worried, it's not the right word. I'm still thinking about and calculating how exactly I want to go about drawing like clouds and things of that nature. I want to make it look good, but I don't want it to look too whimsical. So I'm trying to figure out a balance of that. And like if I make it if I make clouds too fluffy or something like that, it could look really whimsical. So I want to keep practicing and keep drawing from life, if you will, from like photographs or something like that. Trying to draw clouds. That way, over time, I'll get really good at different types of clouds that I want to draw in the sky, and come up with my own little system for how I want to make it look good. But for right now, I'm gonna probably do it on the computer. Um, it's a lot more manageable, and it gives me a certain amount of experimentation. You know, I can draw something down as far as the backgrounds go, as far as like clouds or something like that, and sky is going, and I can say no to it. I'm like, no, I'll try something again, and I'll quickly try it again. But you know, working on this type of paper and stuff like that, I want to try and make as decent of a mark in the first 2 to 3 tries, or it's not gonna work well enough for me anyway. So I'm trying to do anyway. Hmm, cool. Parents on a panel, draw like small, on next big panel, then small panel. Um, I don't think of it like that. I more so think of it like whatever the story moment is. Like like okay, I want this to be a moment. Right? So I gave it the biggest panel in the whole chapter, right? And technically, all it is like um the introduction to this area that you're about to enter. So this is me kind of going, hey, here's the beginning of the next arc, you know? Like, I hope it's memorable to you. Um, and this is the character who introduces you to that area. And this is the shadowy figure of the area there. And this is how you're gonna get there through the water, right? And here's some people. I'm just literally trying to make a moment and trying to make sure that hopefully, if I do a good job with the upcoming arc, you'll remember this moment. You'll be like, oh man, I remember how that started, you know, or I remember the lead up to that, you know, I know where it was going. It felt kind of lax, or, you know, felt kind of chill or something like that, you know, and then the things that ramp up into the arc, it's like, oh man, like that was cool, or that was interesting. Uh, but no, I mainly think of the story beats that are going to be happening in each chapter, and then I think about, okay, which moments do I feel like should have really big panels on the page, because those moments are the most important parts in the chapter. Um, in the beginning of the chapter, you know, I have Halo kind of waking up, or he's awake, right? And he's practicing, and he's got a bunch of different panels on the page and stuff like that. And then when he's done, we have a little bit bigger panel, but nothing has as big a real estate as this one because it takes up the whole entire sheet of paper. Um, well, at least, yeah, at least the middle, right? But still, it takes up basically the whole entire middle part of that, so nothing has that much real estate. Um, I'm looking now. Even though I have pages like this, trying to grab something. Even though I have pages that are like this big here, uh, technically when I make this thing smaller, even by having another panel on that page, it makes it moment smaller compared to a moment that has no other moment on the page except for that. You know what I mean? Um, so I basically base it off of, like I said, story beats, how important I feel like those story beats are or will become later, and that's what I'll give that type of screen time to. And trying to think about how to make it sound more understanding. The real estate you give to panels in a comic, uh, it kind of says how big of a thing it is. Kind of, it's kind of like imagine it like time. If you were to give a moment really giant panels or pages worth of space, just imagine someone looking at that thing for a longer period of time. If I put 8 panels on a page, I'm going to be looking at each of those panels. Definitely if they don't have any dialogue, I'm going to be looking at them quickly because that to me tells me that I might need to read fast, right? If it is a slowed down moment, okay, I might read it slowly, but it also brings along some sort of tension, some sort of anxiety, because if you slow down a moment on a page with multiple panels and hardly anything is really happening, but showing slow motion or something like that, you really want to know what's happening next as the reader. So you want to kind of hurry up and get through that. If I show a really big panel that has a bunch of detail into it and stuff like that, it's a really big page like this, um, you're gonna stay on it a little bit longer if you enjoy those characters. If you're enjoying the story you're reading, you might actually want to take in all that. You might want to really take in that view and be like, "Wow, look at the texture on the cathedral that was drawn into this panel. Look at the lighting. Wow, look at my favorite character or something like that. Like that's a really cool pose." Little things like that. And you give those if those moments are drawn in bigger panels and given more real estate, it gives your eye more to see. Therefore, it might delegate more time from the reader as well. So that's why you usually put your best or your most important moments in bigger panels. And obviously, if you want to just make a cool moment, you could do that too. But I try a little bit to not do it so much because if my moment is cool, I want it to still be a story moment. Still want it to be a story moment because that's what you're going to remember when you're done with the story. When you finally put down the story, you'll maybe go back and be like, "Oh, I remember this. This is when this was first subtly introduced. It seemed like a cool moment, but it actually was this. It's not just that, it was something else. And he was introducing us, or she was introducing us to this thing that they weren't trying to bring too much attention to, but knew that they were going to get to later." It's like, I like stuff like that. But that's how I think about it. I don't really have a pattern per se. I just try to, like, if I say, oh, I want this moment to be like really big, I'll make sure to make a mental note of I want to make a really big page or something like that. But other than that, everything else can do what it wants as long as it doesn't take that real estate that the really important moment needs. I don't want I don't want to be fighting for space for the big most important moment. Like imagine if you were like, I want to have three, splash pages take up the whole entire area of the page. Then you're telling the reader that out of those three, those three were the most important pages in your chapter, um, to some degree, right? That's what you're saying because you took all that space, all that real estate, and used it on those three moments. Hope that makes a little bit of sense. That's at least how I think of it. That's how I was taught it from something. It may have been a book or something. Um, but yeah, it's all about space and time. Because when you're drawing a comic book, what you're really manipulating is time, right? You're taking down all of these moments and cutting them into squares essentially and stuff. And you're trying to get people to turn the page because technically the reader is controlling everything that's happening. Nothing can happen without the reader turning the page. You work really hard, or I work really hard, you know, uh, to try and get the reader to turn the page and try to make a decent story so that it's worthwhile to turn the page. And you make good art, or the best art you can, you know, within your allotted time and how you want to do things, to make things, you know, aesthetically pleasing as they're turning the pages. At least for you, you know, at least for you, the person working on it, because if it's not aesthetically pleasing to you, you can't expect it to be that for anyone else. So it's a balancing act. But yeah, you're manipulating someone's sense of time. Hmm. So probably gonna come back to this tomorrow and finish up these things going on in like this water area down here. Um, I think for the most part the line work is decent. I have some what's this called? Some good line weight here. Hoping that certain things read very well here. Yeah, not much. Oh yeah, I bought this new eraser. It's really tiny, but it's like great for like detail work and stuff. So like if I make these little small mistakes, I can just go in here and just clean that up and make that a little bit neater. Yeah, it's very small. But I think Tombow is the one who makes the mono erasers, which I like to use. I think that's what they say, right? Yeah, these ones. These are like my favorite erasers right now. They're very soft plastic erasers from Tombow, and they get the job done pretty well. So they're in these. Well, that's what this is. It doesn't have a cover on it, but that's what is in this one as well. So it's very soft eraser. So it's gonna be doing some work. Try to do a balancing act of like relying a little bit, not a little bit, a decent amount on line work and patterns, I guess. And when it comes to values, if I want to push them, if I want to make like uh, more of a push in the value department, I'll do that with a computer. It's a little bit easier to do. And since, in my opinion, I'm not as strong on values yet, I want to have a certain amount to be able to experiment with. Um, so I'd rather do that on the computer instead of kind of struggling on paper. Alright, cool. You create the story in a novel format first, or creating the comic or manga, or go create the comic or manga immediately. What I usually do is I do an outline, and I think of the major story plot points that I want to cover. I usually write down at least three. Um, it's like a major, right? It's very broad. So I'll do like I'll be like, okay, in this volume of work, right? And I'll generally go how many pages are going to be in my volume and stuff like that. Excuse me. What I'll do is I'll go, okay, it's like 200 pages in a book in a volume that I want to create. I want to separate that into multiple chapters so I'll know exactly how many chapters I'm going to work on for each book. And then I'll go, okay, I need to figure out how much story do I want to cover in this volume. And then I'll go ahead and write an outline. Be like, okay, here's the three major plot points that I want to touch on and how far I want to go with each. And I'll usually also detail, you know, I do it in a way where I'm like, okay, well, basically it's that. What I'll do is I'll go, um, I wanna actually make sure the reader knows this thing and sees this thing, and then I wanna do one where it's nuanced, where I'm doing breadcrumbs essentially. I'm like putting little hints there, whereas though I'm not ready to completely talk about a thing, but I'm leaving you hints that I'm gonna eventually talk about something like it, so that when I do end up doing that, you'll see it and go, oh, this is what that person was doing. This is why they were leaving these little hints or whatever. If you did catch any of the hints over the time, so I'll do stuff like that, and then I'll do it. Whereas though I'll do it for each chapter as well. So I'll have the major ones, and then I'll have major ones that are smaller, whereas though they're leading up to, right? So when I do an overall volume breakdown of the outline, what I'm doing is talking about the three major things I'm going to cover in that thing or touch on. And then when I'm doing the chapter breakdowns, I'm dissecting just how much for each chapter at a time, you know? Um, so it's stuff like that that I'll do. And I usually do this, like, I don't need to do every single chapter once I have the outline. Like I can start going once I have at least the first three chapters down, like as far as their outlines go. Um, and I can just start going. The thing that I was gonna start doing that I haven't honestly started doing yet So I always thought it was a good idea, but then the world got really hectic, and the world got really hectic dealing with uh, COVID and quarantine and stuff like that. And yeah, I chose to be a little bit more preemptive and start a little bit faster. Where I was going to start writing my scripts for the whole volume. I thought that was a good idea. I was gonna start doing that, and I was looking forward to doing it. I was like, yeah, like like can't wait for my next book. My next book is gonna be, or my next book of content is gonna be, you know, done a little bit differently. Um, Not that anything was really wrong with the first, you know, work. It just, stuff to improve on is always cool and cool to look forward to. I was going to be scripting the whole entire book first. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get started because not working on comic pages kind of puts me in a funk. So what I'm going to do is obviously, I already know certain things my characters are going to say and do and all that good stuff. I'm going to make sure I talk to my friends about it, and it's always good to have peer-to-peer editing, I would say. Whereas though, I don't necessarily have a editor, quote unquote, but what I do have is peers who work in some creative fields and stuff like that, who can give me advice and can read over my work and tell me, based on knowing exactly where I'm trying to go with my work, how far on mark or off mark I'm going, and if my characters sound like themselves or convincing enough to be the characters that I want them to be. So it's a great thing to be able to have those friends. Sorry for making that very long. Comics are uh, they have their own subtleties and nuances to them, and I've been doing them for a while, and some things still elude me, but I'm consistently learning more and more of my own process. And the story I'm working on is kind of hard because I totally have no idea how does a blind person feels. Not totally blind. Cataracts. Patients may. Are you making a story about a patient who has cataracts? Hmm. Um, I had to do research to make it more real, not just nonsense disease. Okay. Well, this is kind of sad story though. Um, uh, if you have any family members, I definitely had one who had been treated for it. You might be able to ask a family member. They may have been treated for it. I believe it's a treatable thing. So you may actually know someone who has been cared for it and be able to. Oh wait, it's a sad story, so maybe they weren't being able to be cured. But you could still, I guess, ask them how it felt when they had it and try to extend that type of feeling. I assume. Oh man. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, you might have to do might have to do a certain amount of research for that one then. Yeah. Uh, is this a story you're working on like in school? In like a comic book course type thing? Sounds like something interesting like that. Oh, hello, Mando. Thanks for the thanks for that. Jesus, thanks for that. Thanks for the compliment. I don't know what happened with my brain there. It's like, what? Thanks. I'll try. I try. Hmm. Alright, that's looking a lot better. See here, any of these edges I need to hit again. Hmm. I've been doing art for since I was young, so I guess around 30 years at this point. eraser is still really awesome. Still haven't used it yet though. Well, not very much. So I just got it, but it's great. This eraser is awesome. Alright, so we got that. This is the one we worked on earlier. And the last picture is going to be tomorrow. So, the last picture, or the last page is going to be worked on tomorrow for this chapter. And I'm about to sound like the kind of not. Funnily enough, I still haven't figured out what I wanted the cover art to be. My mind is telling me exactly though, like I know kind of what I want to do. Here's what I kind of want to do. This is chapter 11, right? What I kind of want to do is do some sort of motif where I use both of the characters here, and it's kind of like these silhouetted forms that I get to basically put like chapter and then use their silhouetted forms as the 11. That's kind of what I want to do, right? That's kind of what I want to do. I think that would be really fun. I think that would be really, really fun. Yeah, where is this thing? Where did I put the okay, there it is. Thank you. Yeah, so this is gonna be, well, this is flipped, but well, it won't take us too long to get through this tomorrow, hopefully. And that'll be what, Thursday? And then I'm probably gonna take Friday and go through with you guys, look through all the pages and see if there's anything else that we need to add, change, or buff, like hit anything else with line work, as far as like line weights and stuff like that, you know, to make sure things kind of come forward in space the way they need to. If we do want to make a change and add any sound effects by hand on the page without needing to do anything on the computer that way, and clean up and all that good stuff, once all that's done, that'll be the end of that stream on Friday. And then I'll use the weekend to kind of scan all this stuff in. I'll edit some of the line work before we get started, and I'll make the I guess I call it the comic master file. So we'll get all the stuff ready, and then we'll start working on that stuff together. You know, I'll be streaming from my computer on a Clip Studio. We'll be working through even that part of the process. So yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, shoot. We could work through that stuff, and then on Friday also, if I do come up with a good idea for us to work as far as the cover photo, that'll be awesome, because then we can work on that together as well. But yeah, thanks for coming through, everyone. Really appreciate it. I do this Monday through Friday, actually, at 9 p.m. usually Eastern Standard Time. Did some family stuff today, but maybe I'll try to be a little earlier tomorrow. We'll see. It's always about if I have time or not, honestly. But you know, if I ever start earlier, you'll know I had time, right? Can't make any promises because I don't want to let anyone down, but I'm gonna probably start doing like pre-streams before we work on the chapters and stuff like that, where basically what I'll do is I'll be like practicing. I'll be working on gesture drawings and, you know, sketches and stuff like that, and practicing. And then after that, basically, I'll go right into working on the cover, or you know, on the chapters and stuff like that, and pages, and that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, all right, everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and get some rest, and I think you guys should as well. Peace.